As a kid, I didn't really go to the movies that often. Most of the movies I watched were on VHS or TV, but every once in a while I would make a trip to the Ridgewood Theater, its lumpy sticky floor and a bicycle in front of the screen to see movies like The Lion King or Mortal Kombat. And of course, who could forget? Street Fighter, the movie. The movie sucked, but I liked it. And then that summer, a laundromat by me, the very same laundromat that I played Street Fighter Rainbow Edition, got Street Fighter the movie, the game. That game sucked, and I didn't like it. But one thing that stood out to me at the time was a character named Sawada. It seemed like he was important for some reason, and I even remember an issue of was either GamePro or EGM said something about how Capcom was really excited about this character. Yet for some reason, I didn't remember him in the movie. Well, as it turns out, there's actually a pretty interesting story behind that character. So for this episode of Gaming Mysteries, let's take a look at Captain Sawada, the forgotten Street Fighter character. This video is sponsored by Raycon. I've been using my wireless Raycon earbuds almost every day since I've got them, and they sound great, fit comfortably, and stay connected to my phone. Not only do I like them, but they're also enjoyed by Melissa Etheridge. Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market. They sound just as amazing as other top audio brands you know. Their latest model, the Everyday E25, is their best one yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice, noise-isolating fit. It also comes in new fun colors. Raycons make a great holiday gift, and now's the time to get the best prices of the year on Raycons. And hurry, this offer is available for a limited time only. Click the description box or go to buyraycon.com/Wayne to get 20% off your Raycon purchase. Street Fighter the movie, the game, came out in June of 1995, developed by Incredible Technologies, the same people who brought us Time Killers. Originally, this game was planned to be Street Fighter 3. It was going to include a few characters from the original Street Fighter game that didn't make it to Street Fighter 2, as well as Gunlock from Saturday Night Slam Masters, and Mega Man. All of this fell to the wayside when Capcom informed Incredible Technologies that they would now be working on Street Fighter the movie, the game. With its digitized graphics, this game drew obvious comparisons to Mortal Kombat. And now, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are two game series that they both have their own strengths and weaknesses. To me, this title felt like they took those strengths of both games, threw them in the garbage, and put together everything that was left. But despite this game being what it is, it gives us some clues as to things that were going on behind the scenes at Capcom at the time. The key to everything, of course, is the character Sawada. As I mentioned in the intro, when I first saw Sawada and read about him in magazines, I saw this guy with no shirt and camel pants, and I was like, I don't remember this guy at all. So I watched it again to look for him, and it turns out that he is there, but barely. He just pops in for a few scenes to say a line or two with a heavy accent with lines that seem dubbed.
Colonel.
Yes?
A single boat against everything he's got? The pilot would have to be out of his mind.
And the more you think about this, the stranger it is. Why cast someone in such a small, generic role like that if they're struggling to deliver a few simple lines? There's so many hungry actors out there, surely someone else could have done that role. Well, actually no, nobody else could have filled this role because it was specifically made for this man. In fact, the character was even named after him, his real name being Kenya Sawada. So here's what happened. When they were doing the auditions for Ryu, the director, Steven D'Souza, decided that Byron Mann was perfect for the role. But then Capcom comes along and they're like, hey, we got this guy and we really want you to make him Ryu. That guy was Kenya Sawada. Kenya Sawada had actually been working with Capcom and even portrayed Ryu in some of the Japanese commercials. Capcom was hoping to take this actor, Kenya Sawada, and build him up as their own in-house action hero. They wanted to use Street Fighter to launch this man's career, so it was really important that he plays the role of Ryu. But there was a problem. You see, a lot of this movie was written around the playful banter between Ryu and Ken. Banter that was contingent on Ryu being able to speak good English. This was not something Sawada could do, so they're able to come up with a compromise. The role of Sawada was created so Capcom could get their guy in the movie, and Byron Mann could stay on as Ryu. Byron Mann would later comment in interviews that there was a bit of tension between them on set because of this. And as good of a job as Byron Mann did as Ryu, I can't help but think how many magical scenes we would have had if we had gotten Kenya Sawada's English interpretation. There's probably another universe somewhere where there's thousands of YTMNDs made based on Sawada's Ryu. And all that being said, there's another component to this story that ties it all back into the games, and that component is Fei Long. You'll notice that in the movie, every Super Street Fighter II character is included except for Fei Long. And it had long been rumored that Sawada was originally supposed to be Fei Long, but then they changed it for some reason. One rumor is that they thought the character was too generic. Another was that they thought people would mix him up with Ryu, and I get it. I mean, you got too many Asian guys walking around and people get confused. But those theories don't really make that much sense to me. I mean, considering that they had E Honda and Balrog just be Chun-Li's camera crew, that clearly that aren't married to any specific details from the games. What I think is that Capcom, being so invested in this actor, Kenya Sawada, just wanted the name out there to give him a little bit more recognition. I have absolutely no evidence for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Capcom specifically asked for him to be named that, replacing Fei Long in the process. And when you look at the game, the Fei Long Sawada connection goes even deeper. You see, Fei Long, once again, isn't playable in the game. However, his theme music is present, and that theme music in the game belongs to Sawada. Wonder why that is. And then in the game, there's a stage called the Dungeon. A stage that bears a really strong resemblance to the pit from Mortal Kombat, and it features in the background 2 out of 4 possible characters being detained. E Honda, Cammy, Chun-Li, or Fei Long, who is portrayed by Kenya Sawada. As it's commonly told, Fei Long was supposed to be playable in this game, and he had his moves performed by Sawada, but they just simply couldn't get the character ready in time for release. As was the case with Blanca, although he did make it to the PlayStation version. But ultimately, we never got to see what there actually was of Fei Long in Street Fighter the movie, and all we got was Sawada with his attacks that a lot of people think are a sword, but actually it's just a graphical glitch that looks like a sword. Well, you may not be surprised to hear that Kenya Sawada didn't wind up being Capcom's own personal action hero like they had hoped. But he did go on to work pretty consistently since then, appearing in a variety of martial arts movies up to as recently as 2018. Immediately following Street Fighter the movie, he was in Thunderbolt with Jackie Chan, who he had become good friends with and worked with again in the Shinjuku incident. And you might be surprised to hear that this actually wasn't the last appearance of the Sawada character. He did show up in a few episodes of the American Street Fighter cartoon as an antagonist to Guile. And in some of these appearances, he has a sword, meaning that the animators of this show, like many of the players, also thought that graphic glitch was supposed to be a sword. He would also appear a few years later in a 3-issue story arc of the Brazilian Street Fighter comic. And much more recently, Kenya Sawada would reprise his role in the Japan-only PS3 game Mainichi Issho, in which he gives the character some self-defense lessons. And believe it or not, although he hasn't made any more appearances in any Street Fighter games, the character still is officially recognized by Capcom. He made an appearance on the Shadaloo Combat Research Institute website that Capcom maintained for Street Fighter V. So albeit unlikely, it still is in the realm of possibility that he could show up in another Street Fighter game one day. But anyway, that's all for the story of Captain Sawada. If you liked this video, check out my video about Street Fighter Rainbow Edition. I'm out.